Hi, my name is Mariah Rossell and I am a psychedelic integration counselor. Today I want to take some time and talk to you about the psychedelic integration process. And I'm going to talk to you about it both in terms of working with a professional and doing it yourself. You can make your choice, you can do both. Even if you are working with a professional to guide you, you're still going to have homework. So the purpose of psychedelic integration is twofold. One, it's to maximize the learning and any amazing insights that you had. And two, it's about making the difficult parts of the psychedelic journey sit better with you. Because while what you experience on psychedelics isn't, quote, real, it's still something that has psychological and physiological implications. And so in some ways we can equate psychological or psychedelic experiences to dreams. So maybe you got attacked by demons, maybe you had a troubling vision, maybe you had the experience of seeing the spirit of somebody who has passed. Maybe somebody's face morphed into something that was really disturbing. Who knows what it's going to be. And so we can look at this like a nightmare. But typically, the way that psychedelics impact your reality perception, they impact your reality on a deeper level than nightmares. And so there will often be traces of those visions and experiences in your being. There's a lovely book out there called The Body Keeps the Score. Love this book. And in the book they talk about how our traumas are held physiologically in our body tissues. And so if we use this model to understand our psychedelic experience, if we had traumatic psychedelic experiences, it's going to physiologically reside in the body tissue as well. And so the question is, how do we process that, get through that, and get out of it? I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on processing trauma in this video. There's a couple of quick tips that I can give you, but generally processing trauma is going to be a difficult thing to do without assistance. But some of the ways that people can do it are through breathing exercises, through meditation, through a movement practice such as ecstatic dance or yoga or hiking. And generally, if there was a very traumatic experience, getting some sort of professional help would be very useful. And this isn't to say you're crazy, this isn't going to say you have to be in therapy long term, but just having a couple of sessions with a trusted therapist that can help you work through the traumas that came up from that experience can be very, very useful. On the other side, as far as experience optimization, this is something that is a lot easier to do by yourself. And so you have had this experience, and there's a term when we talk about drug use in general called chasing the dragon, which means that people are always looking to have the high that they got from the first time they used a substance. And this is a way that we explain why people increase the amount of substance they use. And also, there's tolerance. Tolerance is a very real thing as well. And this may be something that you experience in the psychedelic world. The first experience you had was so magical that you never have an experience that is equally as magical again. I've definitely heard people over the years tell me, they're like, I just don't trip anymore. The psychedelics don't work. And I don't know that I have a scientific reason. I kind of have a hypothesis that whether one could be a tolerance, but two, that they become almost used to the way that the psychedelic impacts their perception, and therefore it's not doing as profound things. There are also physiological or biochemical, neurological, pharmacological things that we're dealing with, because if you were to take the same psychedelic 2 days in a row, it's not going to impact you the same way. But the previous couple of sentences I was talking about was actually long-term psychedelic use. And, just because you use a psychedelic once does not mean that you are necessarily going to become a long-term psychedelic user. It could be a one-and-done experience. And that, whatever your choice is with the relationship to these chemicals is your choice. And I'm not here to judge. I just want to give you some opinions, some education. I am not a doctor, so I'm not prescribing or diagnosing or recommending any of these things. I'm just giving you a little bit of background based on my own personal research and based on the experiences that I have seen from others while I've been doing the work that I've been doing. And so you don't want to have this experience, and this is one of the things I often see in people, and I don't want to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but in my opinion, it takes a lot of work, a lot of energy for people to have psychedelic experiences. We've talked about this before. There's a lot of time, effort, money, energy, days off work, things like that, to have this experience. And to feel like you didn't get what you wanted out of that experience, or that you were not able to integrate that long term, seems like you're really spinning your wheels, and you may find yourself in this chasing the dragon state that I was talking about. And so that's why our psychedelic integration comes in, is it's like, okay, so you've had this intense experience. How can you integrate it into your life? How can you actually make those changes? And so one of the first things that I recommend to everyone, and I actually recommend this to all of my clients, whether I'm working on psychedelic integration or some other topic with them, is journaling. And I know a lot of people fight me tooth and nail on journaling. And journaling is so useful, especially when integrating psychedelic experiences. And so I recommend, as soon as you are comfortably able to write again, and we've talked about before, you don't really read or write very well on psychedelics, that you sit down and you journal. Write everything that you can remember about the experience. And maybe it's only a couple words. Like, I remember thinking a lot about my mom. I remember thinking about, global poverty. I remember having a solution to my dating life. I remember realizing that I'm out of shape. I should probably eat healthier. Whatever it is. And sometimes it might seem pretty nonsensical. And so that's one of the things that having a psychedelic integration counselor versus doing the work yourself can be really helpful, is that together we can work with some of those visions that you had that were really confusing and make sense of them. I can also help normalize some of the visions that you've had, or help weave them in with other things. One of the things that I focus on a lot is archetypes and archetypal psychology. And so maybe it's something that's a little bit more loosely related. It's just like in the dream state. When you do dream interpretations, it's not necessarily who was in the dream or what was in the dream, but what was happening. And our mind just has to put someone there. And so this can be the same thing as psychedelics. I had this crazy vision, but why was this kid from my high school class in this vision? Well, your brain needed an image that was somebody that could be pulled up, that was relatively neutral, and let's actually look at what was happening. And so we can explore those in a counseling situation, and you can explore these on your own too. And it just can be useful if you get stuck to have someone to bounce these ideas off of. And so now that you've journaled this, now you can really start to say, okay, so this is what's going on. And now I want to know how to take this forward. So you've written down those basics, and now you can start to work on them one at a time. Oh, I was supposed to work out more. Okay, what's that look like? Let's make a plan. And this is again where a counselor can be really useful because, well, you probably knew that you should work out more. You probably knew you should eat better. But you were having this revelation over and over again on the psychedelic because you're not doing it. And so that's where having professional help come in is really very useful. And then the other thing that I want to talk about in this regards is that you will often have these amazing epiphanies on psychedelics. And there's two things about these epiphanies. One, if you don't actually focus on the integration, it's not uncommon to forget them. And so that's where having that integration and really being able to work, why was I given this epiphany? What can I do with this epiphany? How is this relevant to me and my life? And playing with it, because otherwise, why did you go on this journey? If you went to get answers, you were given answers and you didn't actually receive them, you didn't actually hear them. Oftentimes we don't hear them because you didn't want to hear what was actually being shown to you. And so there's some sort of negotiation that has to happen between you and your ego. And then we also need to focus on this idea that people will want to share their psychedelic experience with anyone and everyone. I had this amazing experience and I learned ultimate love and this and that and the other, and those are all beautiful, amazing things. Awesome. However, who are you telling them to, and can they understand? So if you're now telling them to somebody that has no psychedelic experience, you have a couple of options. One, they may be very judgmental. Oh, well, that wasn't really real. It happened while you were on drugs. Yes, and it was on drugs, and it may have not been real, but the thought or an idea is often not real. It's just up here in the esoteric realm, and so this is bringing that in. And so when you hear these people have judgment, when you talk to them, it will be contracting for you, and you'll be like, oh, maybe I'm not really wanting to have this, change in my life. But I felt so gung-ho and on board with it in the moment, and now I'm not. And so, one, you want to watch out when you share these things with people that don't have psychedelic experiences, that they crush your goals, they crush your dreams. And even people that have had psychedelic experiences, maybe you tell it to your partner. I had this psychedelic experience, I saw your face turn into a demon, and now I'm afraid of you. Oh, sweetie, it's okay. And, well, now that person is discounting your experience. And so that's where having a neutral party to really explore these things with and say, what is it that I want to choose to take from it? And really be empowered, rather than having your friends and family tell you, well, these are the parts to take about it and these are the parts to not take about it. The other thing is, if people have never had a psychedelic experience, they might not understand what you're talking about, so you kind of seem like the crazy person, and you might get labeled as the crazy person. Whether or not you mind that label, it's not really a helpful label for your integration. And then there's also always that legal component. That's one of the things that I have spoken about, and I will keep speaking about, is that all of the psychedelics are illegal in the United States. And so now you're telling somebody close to you about your psychedelic epiphany. This could actually be harmful because, one, they could tell the police. Two, they might tell your job or things like that. As a counselor, I have legal confidentiality. And so that's one of the nice things about working with me, is that you can tell me these things, and unless it crosses certain boundaries that are professional boundaries where I have a duty to report or a duty to warn, then it's confidential. And so I can't report on you for telling me that you have used illegal substances, because that's not, because I have this legal confidentiality, I have this privilege. And so that can be really useful, especially if you're trying to deal with a difficult situation, because one of the things I find comes up all the time is, oh, I was in a slightly unhealthy relationship and I realized it on psychedelics. Who do I talk to? I can't talk to my partner. It's going to be weird to talk to my best friend or community members because it's going to impact my community experience. And then the other thing that psychedelic integration is really important about it is about normalizing your experience. And there are lots of people that have had psychedelic experiences over their lives. And so what are these experiences and how does yours fit into this collective? And that it's happened. And you're not crazy for having this experience, and what does this really mean? And so we will play with all of these different things during counseling sessions if you do it with me. If you choose to do it on your own, journaling, really tapping into your highest self, your inner healer, and saying, what did I get out of here? Do that initial brain dump, and then go item by item and say, why did I get this? What does it mean? How can I do it? How can I change my patterns and habits? And then go through this one at a time. And then, wait, I had this weird vision. What does it mean? And sometimes one of my favorite things to do is open up a blank page of my journal and write out the question that I don't know at the top. What did this vision mean? And then just meditate and sit in silence until I'm able to get some clarity, and then I just write and write and write. Okay, cool. Now I know what it means. What is the action? I don't know. Okay, sit down, you have a blank piece of paper, right at the top. What action do I need to take in order to optimize this experience? And then I write and write and write. And so that's very useful. Other things are meditation. You can meditate and call back some of the images. You can meditate to go through the different parts of the journeys. One of the things that I will often do with clients is I will take them through a guided meditation to take them back into some of those places of the journey that they aren't quite fully integrating, that they don't quite fully understand, so we can get back to that place to get more information. So if you can do your own meditation guidance or a shamanic drumming or something in your skill set to get you back there, that can be really useful as well. And then what are your action steps? And really creating a concrete plan. And then how do you change your habits? And the answer is, just like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you change your habits? One bite at a time. But what can you do? What is doable? How do you track it? What are those small steps? And how do you keep on track? And those are all the things that I find that I work with my clients a lot on, because generally people have a hard time being accountable to ourselves, but we're really good at being accountable to each other. We're really good at being accountable to that person that we give responsible to being accountable for. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle working from home or being self-employed, being entrepreneurs, is because they don't have that self-discipline. And so because we don't have that as a whole, we often seek it from outside. And so that's one of the things that I do, is I help you to create the plan that you want to have. I have no agenda. My agenda is to serve your highest good, right? And so help you create that, and then look at it one at a time, or one step at a time, and then reevaluate and say, this is working, this isn't working. This isn't working, why? What can we do to modify and adjust the plan? And if you want to do this on your own, same steps. Make a plan, make small steps, regularly evaluate, and make changes. And really integrate that. And then if you do decide that you want to do psychedelics again, asking your question of, have I fully taken the time to fully integrate this experience I've already had before doing it again? And if so, am I doing it in a mindful way? Have I chosen to create vision, create focus, and do this in a way that is going to be expansive and a growth experience for me versus contractive? And because if it is something that is contractive, or you feel like you have to do, or you're just like, that was so great, I want to do it again and again and again, that's where, while generally the research shows that psychedelics are not addictive, there are times where people have can use them in a way that is very addictive. Generally, they're not physiologically addictive like other substances, but there can be a psychological type of addiction or use or misuse with psychedelics. So keep that in mind as well. So I wish you the absolute best on integrating your psychedelic journey and having a very transformative time if this is a journey that you choose to embark upon. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Be well. Bye-bye.